everyone. Thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast today. I am super duper excited to be talking about the REBL Dads. It feels like the REBL Dads. If you haven't picked up the book yet, you should. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Allie.
Awesome. Good to see you
today.
Yeah, thank you. So how did REBL Dads come about in the first place? What was the need that it was trying to fill?
Do you want the long answer or the short answer?
Whatever answer you feel like giving.
All right. Why did we create REBL Dads?
You want me to answer that?
I want to hear your answer.
That means you don't want to answer it. Okay.
I want to hear your answer, and then I'll backfill all the things you leave out.
Oh, that's convenient. This sounds like our relationship, Allie. Well, I'll say, why did Derek create REBL Dads? The interesting thing about our history together is that we're both recovering financial advisors who've been in the financial space for a good amount of time, who both became entrepreneurial tech founders to support our vision of what we thought was missing in the business. And then we started a podcast together. And so in those down times, Derek shared with me kind of his own journeys as an entrepreneur and as a father, and how to manage the balance that's typically unachievable to try to be great at both. And we related heavily on this, found out we had similar backgrounds. And he told me that he was really looking for a community of peers that could talk about this openly and basically provide support for each other, especially coming out of the pandemic when we were all very lonely. And we just kind of kept pursuing this. And Derek took his entrepreneurial skills to the next level and decided, well, I'm just going to create it, and started building it. And I got to be in a supporting role, even as it created some pretty amazing bucket experiences. So that's how I talk about the origin of REBL Dads.
Yeah, I think that's about 5% right.
Okay, good.
No, it's a good summary. Allie, I'll add that we were looking for dads that understood the duality of filling the fatherhood role, but also being an entrepreneur or even an intrapreneur on a career path. And I looked at my own situation, which was similar to Adam's, growing up in a weird father situation. And then for a number of years as a father and entrepreneur, I just worked harder instead of smarter. And then eventually you're like, man, this sucks. And you try to get smarter about it. And especially when you're missing moments with your kid, I still never forget. And this is where Adam and I initially connected. I'm totally going long-winded now. But Adam and I both took our practices as advisors virtual way before, like 2010, 2012, 2013, like that area. We went, and we didn't know each other at the time, but we did this. And the main reason I did it was I had just moved halfway across the country with a newborn, and I was gone all the time on a plane to go meet with clients in person. And I was starting to watch my son grow up through text messages, and it really sucked. Like, you're sitting in a hotel room by yourself or couch surfing at a friend's house while you're gone, and you're watching your kid do these fun things and you're not there. And so that's why I took it virtual, because I wanted to be closer to my kid and spend more time with family, so to work smarter. And so long story short, Adam and I wanted to create a community where dads could really think about, how do we become better leaders at home and work? How do we get smarter at both? Share our wins, our struggles, all of that. And well, no one knows who Derek and Adam are, so that's why we decided we wanted to get Richard Branson involved. That was a real draw, which we can get into here, I'm sure.
Yeah. So leading up to that, I think it's interesting that you connected this with entrepreneurship, not just necessarily having to work, because there is something, being an entrepreneur myself, about business relies on me. And so therefore I have to keep going and going. And because otherwise I'm providing for the kids too, but you're managing the fact that yes, they need the money, but also more importantly, they need you. So that, I think that was an interesting parallel that you drew there.
Yeah, there was
hard, right? Yeah. Go ahead, Adam. Go ahead.
No, look, I think there's a really interesting thing, and I'm glad you brought it up, Allie, because entrepreneurship is certainly not limited to men. But there was an interesting thing that we kind of ran across. One of the earlier pieces about being an entrepreneur is that you're extremely present in your business. You're doing 100 tasks. You learn every aspect. And even today, when you think about the gig economy, there's people running entire companies by themselves with AI and no human interaction. We're starting to see this happen. It's going to get more prolific. But what was evident in our research and thinking about how wide these kind of challenges of loneliness was also recognizing the epidemic of male presence in families. I mean, just the fact that we were part of families that had very strong mothers that kind of ruled the roost. We saw what a strong woman was like as a child, but we didn't see what a strong father was like in the areas that we needed them to be strong. And here we are trying to be role models and CEOs of companies, maybe even leading other people. And we have no rubric. So the irony behind entrepreneurship is that you jump in with both feet and you take charge and ownership, whether you're good at it or not. And it's like, wow, this looks eerily like fatherhood for us, because we didn't have these awesome role models too. So we felt like that was an area we could at least tack with REBL Dads, is try to create that community, but also a way to build the strength, I think, of men who are kind of lost and maybe not recognizing they need to be more present.
Thank you. So how did you guys decide to get Richard Branson involved? How much of the project was already sort of baked, and how much did it rely on his participation in any way?
The idea was maybe 60% baked when I initially tried to get a hold of Richard. It was just an idea. But as I said before, if you're going to get people to take time away from their family and their business, to meet up with strangers, to pay a lot of money, you have to have a draw. And I love Adam's analogy. He's used this before, but the first party you create in college for all your buddies, it's going to suck. It's not a great party, but you had to have a draw, and then you keep building it and you get them to come back. And I'm not doing your analogy any justice, by the way.
No, people don't know what you're talking about, I think.
They don't, but it's okay. They can send you a DM later and ask.
He's saying that nobody shows up at the first party, but then like the second party, like a couple people come back and they bring friends.
But we needed people to show up to the first party, especially since I put everything on the line financially for it. And I've always admired Richard Branson, read all of his books, followed him for decades. And he's been a great dad and obviously entrepreneur. Wouldn't it be cool if we could have him involved? And so that was the main draw, because a lot of people really like what he's done and want to meet him and be part of that. And we also wanted his insights and feedback and ideas. And his home happens to be on an island in the Caribbean, which is kind of nice, especially in the winter, to go visit. So yes, that was an early draw, because Adam and I just don't have that type of clout. So we need somebody else.
Oh, I was going to say, I think you're underselling both of you, but yes.
We did get people to come.
Modest guys, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. He's got tens of thousands of followers, and he does sell
nothing.
himself short.
That's nothing.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
So how did you guys go about marketing that first group? Because I vaguely remember hearing something about Richard Branson's involved, and it was this like, I don't know, is that for real? Or, is this going to be like some big scam at the end? Like, how did you go about thinking about how you want to get this group of people to do this?
Well, for me, it was a combination of my network, folks I already had relationships with, and then I totally went cold as well. I did a combination of both. In fact, Adam was the first person I asked and the first yes that I got. So he was on it from day one. Little did he know what he was getting into. No. And then, but yeah, so it was a combination of going to our collective networks and selling the story one conversation at a time, one email at a time, one meeting at a time. It was a lot of work. But then a lot of cold people. Like I would just pitch people with LinkedIn DMs. Hey, you don't know us, but you're a dad. I'm a dad. You're an entrepreneur. I got this cool thing I'm doing with Richard. Do you want to go? And a couple of people said yes. One of the guys who's gone every year, the first year he was trying to wire money and his bank rejected it.
Oh, no.
And he calls me up. He's like, what is this? Who are you? Why am I sending you all this money? Is this legit? And well, it was, and we made it happen. But that's, I don't know if you want to add anything there, Adam.
No, he lucked out. He got a good value and he kept coming back. I think that's the thing. I mean, in a classic sales environment as an entrepreneur, so we are financial advisors. We know that trust is everything and confidence is everything. And I think that's what the Richard experience gave us, especially at the price point that we were talking about for a bucket list level experience. I think people probably, half the group was like, wow, I just want the opportunity to, like, we're risk takers. We're willing to be the first movers. The others were like, gosh, I mean, if nothing else, I've got, even if this is a horrible experience, I got to meet Richard Branson. So I think there's an interesting aspect. I'm making a generalization. There's not a lot of role models out there. And that's kind of the ironic point of this whole thing. If you didn't have a great role model at home as a father or a mother, whatever it might be, then you're kind of, this is a gap for most of us. And Richard is one of those universal rock stars who's created good and goodwill in the world that we felt reputationally we could also get behind. The fact that Derek was actually able to secure Necker and get it done is just an amazing feat. But it does show how much you can get done when you try, ask for help, and don't give up. And that's how we filled it. We filled it by basically just being committed to, we're going. Are you coming?
It was really scary though at some points.
There was moments.
Like a lot of no's before you the yeses we needed. It was really stressful.
It's true. Yeah. Kids' college fund almost went to Richard Branson. I mean,
right.
Well, but you do what you got to do. And thank God that it all worked out.
That's right.
But I mean, the way that you're describing how you went about this sales process, as I think about the components of REBL, how did you guys decide on the moniker of REBL and each of the components of it and why those were important to the group?
This is why I wish I had that note where I could share with you guys, because I remember writing this down and crossing things off as I went. Needed a cool name, so we wanted dad in the name. I don't know if I've ever even shown this to you, Adam. I should try to find it. And then when originally talking about creating the community and the event, was trying to build it around some core values and ideas that would really, I think, be attractive to dads and resonate, but also keep it broad enough. And so originally the R actually was for remote, for people that were working remotely and all of that. And then obviously entrepreneur, balanced leader. And then Adam had the brilliant idea. He's like, really, R should be responsible. And so that changed within the first year. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, we were there.
Which made so much more sense. It's so much more appropriate for the group. But really, those were the core things. At the end of the day, these are the 4 pillars of what we're trying to help dads be better at through this community and teach around. And so our mastermind sessions are centered around topics that fall within these pillars.
Nice.
The book is all manner of things. And it's kind of a fun side note, because we knew Richard was going to be involved. Richard, it must have been 20 years ago now, maybe longer. He did one season of a TV show called The REBL Billionaire.
Oh.
You have to look it up. I'm like, oh, wouldn't that be kind of cool? I mean, we already got Richard involved. Rebel's a cool name or word. How can we fit that in together? And so that was some inspiration for putting it together as well.
Wow. I mean,
it's actually
very
an
well
interesting
thought through.
Yeah, for a brand alignment, when you think about it, you're really just such a strong advocate of this, Allie, in brand alignment. Virgin Brands, you might notice, has a certain color scheme, which is not too dissimilar from Rebel. And in terms of making people feel comfortable, affiliate, associate, and of course, I don't say newsjack, but basically connect what they don't know to what they do know to create familiarity. Derek was really thoughtful about saying, if we're going to align with this person as a thought leader, why not make it so familiar so that people have this neuroassociation out of the gate? And it worked, I think, really well. And it allowed, I think, also, not officially, but the Virgin group that we were dealing with to negotiate all this stuff, to find some similarity and commonality. Derek, you didn't talk about the fact you reached out to Richard on LinkedIn in his Ask Anything, which was also a catalyst for aligning vision and mission with them when you pitched it too.
Yeah, he has a monthly newsletter called Ask Richard. And in a comment of one of his articles, I'm like, hey, I'd love if you could do an article on this. The question was, what advice do you have for dadpreneurs? How do you balance both? And he picked it. And I woke up one morning and he had tagged me in an article and went out to millions and millions of people, which was really cool. So I shared that when we were pitching the Virgin team, because Adam and I had to go through background checks. We had to pitch all kinds of people and get approval. They don't just let anybody show up.
Sure.
And so I used that as part of the pitch. I'm like, hey, by the way, Richard just wrote about this. Check this out. And I still remember one of the ladies helping us. She's like, oh, I didn't realize that was you. Yes, this is us. So is that a yes? Because can we come?
Yeah. How much has it meant to you guys? So you've been on several podcasts as a result of it. There are several of the dads who are featured in here who have their own podcasts and have been evangelizing for you. How does it feel to have that kind of support behind it? And does it make you want to grow the mission any more than what it is? Not that it's already not a lot.
What has been true is that when you share a unique experience with people over multiple days, sometimes with their spouses, sometimes with their kids, as some people bring their kids, you have a different bond than just, hey, I see you at a conference once in a while, or we're on a podcast. So we've built real, I think, relationships. We have text chains with 30, 40 guys that we've had this level of experience with over 3 times now. We have inside jokes. We have inside experiences. We look forward to things certain years. And the fact that so many are entrepreneurs and successful at that, it's been great, of course. And that's, I think, what Derek was original visioning, which is he created a brotherhood faster than you could in a fraternity over 4 years. I think that's what we got out of it. Derek, I always joke, you and I are the biggest winners here, despite having put up so much capital and time, because it didn't come back necessarily. We don't look at it as a profit center. It's a community center. And we get the benefit of it emotionally and physically and through a group of friends now that we can't. I don't think we ever could have accelerated that as fast as we did.
It set the foundation for our mission to help 1 million dads.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a model and a framework, a brand, an idea, content where we can scale this out. to Adam's point earlier about male loneliness and a lot of homes without fathers, things of that nature. How can we get our impact to scale exponentially? And that's one of the things that we talked to Richard about when we asked him about contributing to our book. We want to get this message out to the masses. So yeah, yes, scale is important, and we definitely have a big vision of where we want to go with it.
Love it. Adam, to your point, the community that you guys have created is enviable. I'm sure that there are how many businesses, people, groups that wish that they could have created what you did. Do you feel like there are any tips that you would offer to people as to what made yours successful that maybe could be copyable to a certain extent?
It's a great question, because I tend to think that we approach this very much the way we approached our entrepreneurial endeavors. And Derek and I have now done several different projects ourselves and always have some things in the fire, right? We just do a lot. And then, of course, we try to surround ourselves with people who are going to support that whole initiative. I think the interesting thing, if I were to do a retro on what worked here, I think you have an aligned vision of the big why. Derek and I had a common vision of what we wanted. We wanted a community that was going to give us an ability to grow in the area of balance, being both a leader at home and work. We were clear about that. And we also had validated that there were other people who mimic that sentiment. And I think there's timing here, but you've got to create it.
Yes.
And what is the attraction strategy? I think originally it was the Richard thing, but now it's more the community. And we needed to get past the single kind of source of attraction to validate the premise that this was actually a problem that people would actually put capital and time behind. So I think no different than any entrepreneurial project, you have to have a problem you want to solve and then find out how big that problem is, and then just take massive action to create it and get validation early.
Love that. So what does the community involve exactly? For those of us who haven't already joined it, what do you get as being part of all this?
Lifetime supply of knives, cutting boards.
Cutco.
Or did we cut that? We got rid of that stuff.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I was going to say diapers, but yeah.
Yeah,
I guess it
diapers.
depends
Why
on the age
not?
of the kids.
What do you need?
Yeah. All REBL Dads branded diapers.
That's true. We have an enormous amount of merch that we have created now for people, which is kind of funny because dads should not be designing clothes, but we did it anyway. We did it.
So what is it? I mean, so we have our pinnacle event every year on Necker. That's by application invite only. Because what we don't want is anyone showing up that's going to try to sell like a timeshare to everybody. So we're pretty selective about that on purpose. And then what Adam and I have also worked really hard on releasing is a REBL Dads app. So it's a companion app to the book, includes a ton of content you can't get anywhere else in the world, including all the full interviews with all the dads that we interviewed from the books, over 100 interviews. There's hundreds of hours of content there already.
Video content, yeah.
Video content, book content, also community where you can actually talk with other dads within the community and meet and so forth. One thing that's really cool we're working on is, I guess you could call it a knowledge base to start, but we're training an AI bot agent. I don't know what the technical term is.
Yeah.
On all of our dad data. So now you can go into this thing, if you're a member, and have this knowledge base that you can go ping it about questions about fatherhood or what to do with my kid because they had this situation or business related stuff. So that's pretty cool because we have a tremendous amount of content from the last 4 years now that it does not exist anywhere other than with what we have.
Yeah,
and then
including
we're also looking at doing some additional trips and experiences around the world at different times in the year, not including Richard or going to Necker, but just other fun stuff to just build the brotherhood even more.
Nice.
Yeah, we even have, obviously, we've interviewed Richard 3 times too and asked him his context stuff that's not in books, some that is, especially around this topic because it is so specialized around leadership at home and role modeling and reputation and these kinds of things. So there's an enormous amount of stuff that we've realized has value to people. And I think one of the bigger things, and one of the reasons why we did the app is there are so many social media communities out there, but one of the things that was really starting to frustrate us, especially those of us that have created some level of, we'll call it success or notoriety, is we really didn't want these conversations in the public domain, especially around home. And we also didn't want Meta basically trying to sell us some diapers every 5 seconds while we're trying to read content about getting better as fathers. So we created our own app to try to protect that voice and not just train some other companies' AI so that they can monetize it later. So that was an important aspect because look, the privacy is becoming less and less accessible.
Yep.
And that was important in this conversation, because the thing about men generally, and it's a generalization, is that they don't talk about this stuff. So they're going to be guarded, or they're not going to be revealing. One of the things we noticed about Necker is that when you're sitting around with a group of 4 or 5 people, strangers, and you're talking about a topic, you open up differently. And that's when the real stuff comes out. That's helpful and impactful, and getting past the guard that is typically put up. And so that's one of the reasons why we did this in an app.
Actually, that leads me into my next question. So it's like you read my mind.
Oh, cool.
How did you guys sort of destigmatize this? Because I could imagine that there might be some level of shame of saying, well, XYZ just happened with one of my kids and I feel so awful. But it seems like everybody's so willing to share, and there isn't the like, how dare you? Good for you guys.
Yeah, that was a core to being able to go to the event. That one, you couldn't try to sell anybody anything. This is not a time to pitch other people or Richard, but also it was not a place to tell others how to do X, Y, Z. It was really about, listen, you have to be open to sharing your story, failures you've had, successes you've had, things you've learned, and not judge anybody else. Just share what worked, share what didn't work. And through that model, dads just could open up knowing there was no judgment going to happen, and they could just share, and then they pick and choose, like, oh, so-and-so dealt with this thing that I'm going through and it worked for them. I'm going to try that.
Mm-hmm.
And that really resonated. So we really tried. I mean, Adam and I did a lot of work on just making sure that that was communicated through every step of the process, both before and during the event. This is the model. This is how it's going to work. And if you're not going to follow that model, then you're not going to be welcome back.
Well, certainly on the judgmental side, that's true. But you know what's interesting? All of us have a different approach to vulnerability at different schedules, right? Mm-hmm. We knew that we needed to be ultra vulnerable early to set the stage, as to lead the exercises. But, you know, it's typically in any room, especially with men and sometimes even more successful men, or guarded, or have had some sordid past that they don't want to talk about. It might have taken like the second or even third visit where the quiet guy who was just absorbing everything, all of a sudden he comes out with this like, whoa story, and everybody's crying. And it took that time for them to find their own pace. The difference with that and the book is Derek and I interviewed 100 some of these people using our podcast style. And it might have taken the first 40 minutes of just talking about business. And then boom, the gem comes out at 50 minutes, at an hour, when all of a sudden we're like, we need to go another 30 minutes. So we did the work of getting to the vulnerable story and then putting that in the book to get right to the 2-page summary of that. And I think that's what the book attempted to do. There's a lot of, we'll call it so-called personal failures in the book that are expressed as something you can relate to. All of us, men, women, doesn't matter, different stages of life. But the important part is, what can we learn from that? And that's why we put those action steps after each chapter. Say, hey, this is what that person dealt with. How would this affect you? And that's it. That's the work that we did, I think, is try to get right to the meat as opposed to all the barriers that get put up.
And you guys did a great job of it. So I have to say, I haven't finished it yet, but I haven't gotten far enough in the book. I read it wanting to have read it for you guys, but I really went through several chapters and was like, yeah, actually, that's a great idea. I might be able to try that. And obviously not same gender, but I appreciate the fact that it is just great parenting tips, even though they're great dad tips.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So to that end, Rebel Moms, can I start that group? What do we got to do?
We keep getting asked. Someone just asked about it on LinkedIn this week.
That's right. We get it all the time. That's a good question. What do you think we should do? How about let's ask you?
Actually, I believe I know the person who asked you on LinkedIn. So the two of us, I feel like, are particularly attuned to mothering while being entrepreneurs. So I don't entirely understand the whole ask behind it, but the two of us, I think, would be happy to lead an effort of, let's all get together, at least in some kind of online forum chat, have similar understanding of there's not going to be judgment, and we will share, but it doesn't leave outside of the room, and then decide where to go from there. I think that's how I would do it, but I mean, you guys let me know.
It's very cool. The reason I'm asking it that way is because sometimes we think that the market always wants what we want. And so that's why the question is, we think we knew at least an aspect of what the men felt, the loneliness, the fact that not a lot of fathers are showing up at home. There's 18 million homes in the United States without a father figure with kids at home. There's a serious amount of single moms. I was one of them. That was right. You're as well. That are raising kids without a man. What is that saying about society today and men stepping up as leaders and role models? And it's showing that They either are unresourced or they get a mindset check or some other reason. I'm not a psychologist. So we knew that there's a gap to fill. It'd be really curious. And of course, if listeners want to comment, reach out to us and talk to us about it. It's important to understand what the population wants.
It's on the radar. We've had a number of moms
It
go
is,
to
yeah.
Necker with us already. So it's on the radar. There's this main problem that we have, though. It's this not enough time.
Sure. I hear you.
Time.
Right? I guess if Adam and I didn't sleep.
There's a bot for that, right? Can't we just AI this thing?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
It would be so much
think the
faster if we
model-
used AI.
I mean, Allie, I'd be curious to get your thoughts here. So you've heard us talk about the mission, the vision, the model, what we do, our event. Would that model work for moms?
So personally, and I do think I've struggled as to somebody who I can go to conferences, and obviously that's great for the business, that's great for my clients. And then on the other hand, I can come home and my daughter, for instance, will be crying going over to school. And so then it's like, well, but is it worth it? At the end of the day, she's my priority versus the client. So I feel like that may be the tricky part. But I also feel like moms generally, or maybe I'm just localizing to myself, it's hard to make that time to like, oh, let's just have a girls' weekend, because there's the guilt of, but if you're not with the kids, moms have to be with the kids. Maybe that would open up more opportunities and let women let their hair down and do their thing. But I think apart from that, I could see it doing very well.
That expression just gets my mind thinking of, I've dealt with that exact same thing. My own guilt around traveling and then feeling like I needed to be there, but then also recognizing, looking back, that they don't even remember that moment, but I remember it as if it was like I literally let them down. But at the same time, one of the things I think that Richard said really well, he says, we have to remember that when they get on the bike, they're going to fall down, they're going to get scratched up and so forth. The risk of not having pain moments and them exposing and being explored life without us is that they don't experience life without us. And we create the wrong kind of dependency based upon our guilt to be there present all the time. So there's an interesting challenge of this balance, which doesn't exist. It's just an awareness of when there's imbalance and of being ultra present all the time and becoming a helicopter parent versus being like never present and being absent, and finding that you're constantly just shifting with the tide. And it's not perfect. There's no right answer. But there's an awareness of when there's imbalance. And I think one of the things that I'm seeing is because people work from home these days, I'm starting to see like an almost over presence, like overarching parent, like not giving their kid any space, tracking them on their phone. And like, at what point are we now going the opposite direction and not helping them actually learn from their cuts and bruises because we're saving them all the time?
It's a very good
I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess. Maybe there'll be 20 years of movement of like, no, we should not be present. But presence came up enormously in our book.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Is there anything else related to the book or the community that you'd like to bring up while I still have both of you guys?
What do we want people to do, Adam?
Well, one of the things that we hoped to convey, and we don't know where it's going to land, is that if you have a father or a man, or you are one in your life, we invest lots of money and time in our kids' education. The question is, are we investing in our own parenthood education? And that's our challenge to everybody is, can we just invest 15 minutes a week? Can we read one chapter, one 2-page chapter in our book, or go to our app and kind of look at some of the challenges there and then just try them in our life? And I think the key, and the reason why we wrote this book, is it wasn't intended to go read 600 pages in a sitting. That's kind of silly. But can you read one 2-page story a night? Yeah. There's something to be earned over a long period of time of kind of systematic discipline. And that's what we hope. We hope that there's one thing that people take from our body of work that makes a difference in kind of their own direction.
Yeah. I love that. Also, to add, having been through it, so A, agree that each of the chapters is very easy to get through. So it seems like there's virtually no excuse to be able to get through them. But B, even though it's sized like a regular book, I feel like it's really built like a workbook. Like I can imagine putting tabs on the end and being like, oh yeah, that's the part where I have to be more present. And this is the part where I have to. So you guys were brilliant in that aspect. And in that way, you can go back to it and refer to, I'm still having a hard time with XYZ. I got to go to page whatever.
Amen.
I would just add to wrap it up. Yes, please go get the book. It's helpful. And although I don't know if Adam, we can claim we wrote the book on fatherhood, it is a book on fatherhood that could be of value with a lot of collective wisdom. This is not the Derek and Adam story. This is shared wisdom from dads around the world. And the book is meant to do 3 things, in my opinion: motivate, inspire, and then teach you some things you can do at home or work to get a little bit better each day. And that's it. And if that's a value to you without being judged and you want to find a brotherhood in the meantime, that's awesome. It's all there for you for the taking, but you got to take that first step.
Love that.
Let's invest in fatherhood.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for doing that. I personally appreciate it. And I appreciate all the work and care and effort that you put into this mission. May you get that much closer to your 1 million dads that you want to reach.
Thank you. Thanks,
Allie.
Allie.
We really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.